Hello, I'm Alexa Schindler, and we're going to talk about internet safety in the classroom for elementary students. To start with, we're going to start with a quote. The internet is the first thing that humanity has built that humanity doesn't understand, the largest experiment in anarchy that we have ever had. I think that this quote really relates to teaching students because the internet is such a big world, and even as a teacher, you don't know all that you should. And I feel like as the world progresses, internet is just so much a part of the world, and I feel like teachers and parents can all collaborate to making it easier for a student to understand the positives and the negatives of internet. So that is what my presentation is over today. In general, I'm going to talk about the internet. In today's classrooms, no matter really what grade it is, the internet is used constantly throughout the day, whether that's the teacher doing something on it or the students doing more projects on it. It's just a big part of today. And yeah, you can filter and block and do consequences for kids all day long, but I feel like to really make a difference in really ensuring the overall internet safety for your student as they grow up and get better would just be to teach them certain things about the internet to just further allow this to be a good thing rather than a negative thing. The first thing that you could do as a teacher would be in just teaching about the positives of internet usage. All over, you hear negatives about what it can do and what it can't do, but everyone knows that there's positives. You use internet all day, and if you don't know an answer for something, you type it in Google, or there's a lot of positives. It just depends on how you use it. You could teach your students the good ways to use social media and how, you can post about school events, or you can post pictures of different things, or ask people questions, or things of that, rather than posting nasty things on social media or your whole life story, and people can creep on you that way. So those are good things to look at when talking about positives of social media. The next would just be looking up information. And when you're in school, you have to look up information all the time, and you as a teacher can show them online databases, online articles, online journals, things of that nature, to show them that it really is a good thing. People talk about how Wikipedia is so bad, but there's definitely different ways that you can get really good information out of the internet. And then you can take a good look. Another positive would be taking a good look into helpful programs like Excel or Photoshop, things that can make school and that child's life easier as they continue through their education. But with all positive, there's negatives, of course. So things to talk about with your students that are negative would be pedophiles, like if your student was in an online chat room, those are the kind of things to stray away, and those are things that you as a teacher could just promote for being bad, and how simply one thing, they think they're so closed off by like on an online chat, and how it really is a big thing, and it cannot be good if they continue to talk to someone. How posting, the wrong things can get you in trouble. We kind of talked about that earlier with the social media. But say you're going on a trip to Hawaii, and you put a picture up. Going on a trip to Hawaii, you're going to be gone for a week in front of your house. Well, someone could find your house and be like, oh, they're going to be gone for a week, so let's break in. Things like that that kids necessarily wouldn't think about are good things to point out and good things to teach them about those negatives. Cyberbullying is a huge negative right now, and how you can teach your students both ways of being the bullier and how that can be bad, and also being the victim and how that can make you feel, and how you should just stray away from any conflict that might happen online, and what to do if there is a problem, who to go to. Viruses are also a negative. You can get viruses all over your computer if you get into the wrong programs and do different things. It can ruin your computer, so that's a good thing to always talk about as a negative with your students. And then money fraud would be like buying things online without their parents' permission and getting charged more and things like that that are currently happening. Another thing is good to think about is integrating this internet safety into the classroom. You can tell them all day about the positives and the negatives, but the different ways you do it, that's how it's going to stick with the child. I think a good way that could help would be bringing in guest speakers and having them talk about good things that have happened with them in the internet, maybe people that work with the internet on a regular basis, and also bad experiences, maybe someone that got stalked or things to open children's eyes a little more. And then, you yourself as a teacher just concentrating on all the positives of the internet. Just, look at this, kids, look at that, and stuff like that. And then always using yourself, the internet, safely within the classroom. If you're looking for something online, close the projector screen real quick while you're searching for something. That way something doesn't pop up. Things of those can always help in integrating safety into the classroom. The next thing I want to talk about is that a recent experiment that was done, it broke up categories. At school had picked some teachers that, some had worked for a long time, some who hadn't worked for a long time, and they had broke up different categories into which would make a teacher a good teacher at teaching internet safety and what kind of were the requirements. And so I thought that this experiment was kind of creative and kind of gave me as a future teacher of sign of what I kind of wanted to focus on and things of that, and made me look at what I'm spending my time doing. But here are the questions that were asked. The first table talked about how your ability to use the computer, so like the younger teachers were able to do that easier while the older teachers had some strugglings. And these are all the questions that just like they found answers and then add them up, and that's kind of how they got what makes a teacher a good teacher at teaching internet safety. The second table was talking about ways of being educated in computer functions, like how you were educated. So some were like educated through different programs or different colleges. My others were found things online, stuff like that. Table 3 talked about the different types of internet activity that you participate in, so emails, things of that nature. Table 4 talks about the teacher's thoughts and expectations when a student is navigating around the internet in classroom. How the good kind of teachers of the internet were ones that were walking around the classroom looking at them and wanted them to have different accounts and just always monitored those, while the other teachers that were kind of like, you guys do what you want, and they weren't ranked as high on that. And then table 5 was talking about the teacher's ability to promote internet safety and what methods they take to do that, and how a positive one was always talking about it, always showing examples, while another one didn't know near as much. So these were the kind of questions that were asked, and from the different teachers, younger ones, older ones, and then they kind of calculated answers on what a teacher needs to have to be able to teach internet safely, correctly, and well. Um, so I kind of talked about how they based on the teacher's responses, that's how they measured, and it just showed with the more research and the knowledge and the background that one has with computers, the better they will be at teaching. So like the older teachers weren't necessarily as good as teaching internet safety as were the younger teachers, but there was some older teachers, that had kind of stepped into the technology world and kind of had to grasp a little bit. And so that's not saying that all old teachers are bad. It was just the newer teachers that did better, and ones that spent their more time researching things for their classrooms and things of that nature. That was really good ones that helped this experiment out. And then The next thing that I think is really important in a classroom would be the collaboration between the parents and the teachers. And, like with everything that a kid does, if they have it at school and they have it at home, it's just going to be an overwhelm, like a good pattern mix. So, trying to inform parents about um, some of the things that the teacher is doing in the classroom, uh, like enforcements and stuff, then that could be in letting the parent know that, and that they need to make a routine of making sure that their child's also doing these things at home. That's just going to make it a lot more easier for their transition. And giving tips to parents about monitoring your child's use of the internet is always good, because like children, they want to do their own thing, and they'll like shut off the monitor when a parent walks in, and those are just kind of red flags to look for whenever, if there's something like bad that may be going on. And just if a parent, just let them know to be open and ask their kids questions about the internet too, because kids want to teach, be like, mom, I just learned how to do this today, and things like that. So if parents are more open about different things on the internet, I feel like the child will be like, yeah, I can tell them this if there's something going on or something of that. And I think a good way to do that would just at the beginning of the year, when if you're using internet in your classroom a lot, maybe have a typed up syllabus for the kids and the parents of, I'm going to teach this year on the negatives and the positives of the internet, and kind of have the parents sign a guideline as well as the students, and kind of see how it goes throughout the year or throughout the couple months. And then if there's some problems, you feel like the students kind of being secretive at the internet on at school, or they're not really open to new things, maybe have a sit down conference with the parents and just kind of go from there. In conclusion, I feel like this is just a really heavy topic that needs to be integrated in schools all over now, because internet is such a big part of the world that we live in. And as a teacher, you can be a big part in promoting internet safety to a child, that like the positives of internet safety, and let them know the negatives as well. And I feel like this will just lead to students using internet in safe ways throughout their life, rather than bad if they have a positive influence from the beginning. So, thank you.